Well, 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 would you look at those fancy leaf springs? I am excited to put a trailer on this and see how it sits. But yeah, we got another tractor. That's the important thing I should probably do this video about, since that's supposed to be what it's titled. So obviously it's a versatile and it's an 875, and I might put this in the thumbnail so my little introduction there may not have fooled you. This this tractor is a 1978. They built these from 78 to 84, some 9,000 units if I'm reading the serial numbers correctly. This is a 280 engine horsepower machine, of course 855 Cummins, common engine selection by Versatile for these tractors, which is awesome. I love the 855, it's an excellent engine. A little bit more about it. I'm not going to say what we paid for it or anything like that, but rest assured we got a good deal. Place we got it from is kind of a mom and pop outfit, and they had another one of these there. Better paint, similar hours, and 2 serial numbers difference from this one. I don't remember if it was higher or lower, but I thought that was kind of neat. This was the better of the 2 tractors. So these came optional with a bunch of stuff. Like you get a power shift transmission. This has the 12-speed synchro. You could get PTO and or 3-point. This is bareback. You could get a digital readout. This does not have that. What was the other big option you could get on these? I don't remember. I'll probably remember it later. But those are the big ones. The gauge cluster, the power shift, the PTO, the 3-point. It doesn't have any of that. It does have heat and AC. Not sure if the heat works. The AC doesn't work. But we'll talk about that in the when I get to talk about the problems. So you may have noticed that the battery's hanging out. The other day I came out here, tried to start it, because everybody likes to hear these things run, and people are going to want to know, oh, what does it sound like? Does it sound good? Yeah, it sounds great. Fired right up when the guy came to deliver it on, let's see, today's Saturday the 3rd, so that would be the 1st, I believe. Was it Thursday or Friday? I don't remember. Point is, he got it delivered and everything, and that was awesome. We really appreciate that. But the batteries, I got a couple cranking cycles out of this. It was not smoking. It wouldn't fire. And I was like, well, great. The fuel drained back. So I charged the batteries up. In theory, I'll be able to start it for this video. But if not, I'll try it again another day. Now, I've already started distracting myself, going off on wild tangents that most people don't really care about. So I want to say a couple more things before I forget. I get a lot of my information for tractors off of tractordata.com, and if you haven't been to Tractor Data, you should. It's a really nice website. The guy's done a lot of work to put a lot of information up there. This, I will put a link to the, I don't know if you call it an article or listing, probably an article, that would be more correct, but I'll put a link to it on the Tractor Data for these 875s, and you could take a gander at it. But the important thing I want to mention that I can think of from that listing is that in 1984, which was the last year of production for these, they were $110,000. Now, if you adjust that for inflation into August 3rd, 2024 money, or at least August 2nd, I calculated it yesterday. Inflation's crazy, you know. It was about $332,000 US equivalent. So, for a 280 engine horsepower machine. The interesting thing about this in particular is that it actually has a test associated with it. Most of these Versatiles, at least as far as I've seen on Tractor Data, there's no Nebraska tractor test. And so it's kind of weird when you see one for these. So this thing gets, like I said, 280 engine. It even says right here on the tag, we're at, right here, advertised horsepower, 280 at 2100 RPM. We'll never run this thing that hard. Drawbar, it gets 220. That's tested. I don't know if it was with the synchro or the power shift, but I thought it was kind of weird because we have an 800 Versatile. It's a Series 1, and it has the same engine, less the turbocharger, and the same transmission, and I'm almost certain it makes 220 drawbar, because I think it was advertised as a 240 horsepower machine, but there's no Nebraska test for the Series 1 800, so I couldn't tell you, but I just thought that was kind of weird. Obviously, we'll see what it can do when we get it out in the field. So the engine, like I said, 855, everybody loves those. Here is the data plate in more detail for those of you that are interested. because on the 800, somebody emailed me and asked for the CPL number because the tag on the pump on their engine was worn out or gone or smashed or whatever. And oh, what? Did you guys hear that? Oh, Power Stroke Panther, it's hot outside. Why don't you go back in the house? Silly cat. Anyhow, yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, engine sounds good. I really hope it fires. That'd be awesome. Now, of course, there are problems with this machine, and we looked it over pretty good before we went and bought it. We didn't just show up and, oh, paint looks good. Yeah, let's get it. No, we actually looked at stuff. I crawled underneath. I had a flashlight. I was looking for major leaks and anything like that, and there are a few, but that's to be expected. But it's in pretty good shape, in my opinion. Most everything looks good. I do not see, I didn't see any exhaust leaks on the manifold or anything because that affects turbocharger performance. I noticed they've got the bigger alternator on it, and the belts are tight. They're not cracked. They're in good shape. Most of the major seals are not leaking. What few places are leaking, I can fix pretty easily, or we can just ignore it. The tires are in good shape. I would say average tire is about 60-70%. The other tractor had horrible tires. That's what really pushed us away from it. Plus, the clutch was really loose and the shift pattern was backwards. Those were the big glaring issues. There were others as well, but this machine's got the better tires on it. They got a lot of life left in them. The 800 has better tires, but this thing will run a long, long time, and they are not ballasted, if anybody was curious. Some of the other things I looked at were leaks back in this area. This is where you're going to get a lot of leaks on these. So it's about like you can expect for as old as it is. It's not horrible. Definitely something we can deal with. I pulled the dipsticks for the transmission and the hydraulic. The hydraulic dipsticks right there. And the fluid looked good. It's nice and clean. The filters have not been changed in a while. Just you can usually tell by the way the sheen kind of gets away from the new filter. If it's left outside enough, it'll wear off. These have that, kind of that cloudy look about them. They're not like a gloss, like they're brand new. You know what I mean? So the filters haven't been changed in a while, but I've got filters on order, and that's probably about the extent I'm going to do to this. Just change all the filters, and it should be okay. Fluids look excellent, I'm telling you. So there's some, I don't know how well you can see up in there. There's a few more leaks, but it's not bad. Back here, one of the other major things I looked at actually was the wheel seals to see if they were blown out, because that would tell me the breather was clogged or not. And I actually noticed they relocated the breather up here, and on the 800 it's sitting down there on the axle, so it just gets full of dirt constantly. They changed the axles on this tractor too compared to the 800. I don't know if this is a versatile make or if they just went, oh no, never mind, it says Eaton right there. I see it. It says Eaton right there. Okay, so never mind. I thought Versatile was building their own axles. So anyway, U-joints look good. They haven't had a lot of grease, but they've had grease recently enough. I didn't feel horrible about it. The steering cylinders leak. That's to be expected. Not a big deal. This hasn't gotten grease in a bit. Not a big deal. You know, okay, I can clean grease fittings and stuff and do all that, and we'll be good there. Comes with all the correct duals, which is more than I can say for the other tractor. There will be a video on that when we get everything fixed. So 4 sets of remotes, which is really nice. I don't know that we'll ever need 4 sets, but it's handy to have them. Drawbar's in excellent shape. A little bit of a story on that I will tell later. I want to finish the rest of the walk around, the actual walking part, before I go off on another tangent. These tires are in good shape. So I tried to start this, and the batteries were not having it. I don't know what the exact issue is. I've had the charger on it, so in theory, yeah, when we go to start it, it'll actually fire up. If it doesn't, I can't remember if I mentioned all this earlier or not. I've tried to do this video 4 times today because I want to get it right. So, moving on, we'll hop up in the cab in a minute. But for right now, it has 1 new battery in it. When we went to look at these, the salesman said he just put a battery in here. So this is a January 24 battery, and this is a January 23 battery. So I don't think the batteries are shot, even though this is one of those stupid Tractor Supply interstate collaboration pieces of crap. I don't like interstate batteries. I think they're junk. But the hydraulic stuff in there, it's okay. It don't look too bad. The hoses that run to the remotes look okay, which is awesome. Then, of course, here's this side. We can see that other steering cylinder a little bit better. I'm really surprised that everything on this looks good. Outside of the major issues, which we'll talk about here in a second, the only minor things I see are just like hoses. Of course, for 78 to 24, that's what, 46 years? Approximately. So for a tractor being that old, I'm not surprised that some of the hoses are a little crusty. So the story on this machine and the other one sharing very similar serial numbers. And if we had unlimited money, we would have gotten the other one because the price was good on both. But the story is that it was a couple brothers. They had these two 875s and two Internationals. I think they were 66 series Internationals. I believe they were there at the lot where this tractor was at. But anyway, the story was that these brothers were retiring, and they had a tractor. They had like 4 implements, and one tractor was attached to each implement. So they had one tractor for disking, one for cultivating, one for planting, and I think one for spreading. I don't remember. But the point is, it was just one tractor per implement. The drawbar on the other 875 was a little bit more flogged out, specifically on the top. And I'm not sure if that was because they were using the wrong implement and they just accelerated the wear, or that was the one pulling the disc. Maybe it was a combination of both. Maybe the disc was made for a smaller tractor and they were pulling it with this. And it happens. There's a few implements we have that we are pulling with one of these big tractors that we're not really supposed to. We're supposed to pull them with something smaller, but we don't want small. We want big, which is why we got another one of these. And I'll touch on later what the tractor acquisition plan is, because you may be seeing a few more equipment arrivals on the channel before the end of the year. All right, well, problems. The biggest one is this tire. This is the front. What do you call it, right hand? No, this will be left hand. This is the front left hand inside. Well, there's the engine. There you go. There's your context. Anyway, point is the tire will not hold air. Now, when we went and looked at this, we knew it was leaking. I heard it. When the guy brought it down, he said, well, I went to put air in the tire so that I could load it and so it would sit on the trailer right and all that. And okay, that's fine. And he said, well, what happened was the valve stem broke off. Oh, well, that happens. So it needs a tube. He offered to pay for a tube. He's like, if that's what you guys are going to do. And I'm like, you don't need to do that. Hell, the tube ain't that expensive. And we knew we were going to have to do that. We bought the tractor as is. That's why we looked it over. And the issues it had were such that we decided it was worth tackling. So I don't know if we're going to try and do this tire ourselves. Oh, those nuts look like they're pretty well rusted on there. I don't know if that little 1/2-inch impact's going to have enough get up and go to do it. I don't know. And then here, you guys look back in there. I'm going to use the camera to look because I can't quite get my head in there. Everything back there looks okay. I don't know. We may call the tire guy and have him do it. I don't know what he charges, but he does do a good job. He's been doing tires a really long time. But that's the biggest issue. As you probably saw, next issue I want to solve is this oil leak here, because it's pretty bad, or it's going to just get worse. So I want to get that fixed. This oil pan leak down here, I'm not going to mess with unless it's just pouring oil out, because resealing an oil pan, that looks like a job that I don't want to do. So, the rest of it, I mean, it ain't leaking that bad, and I could be wrong. Maybe there's a bunch of places it's leaking, and because, maybe it sat for a while and all that. But my understanding is it was up until a few months ago that it was being used. Because I don't think the dealer that we bought this from, I don't think he did anything to this tractor except that battery. He just took it on trade and posted it for sale. So, what was the other issue? Okay, so we've got some lines. Like this one here is pretty bad. Obviously, the suction line for the fuel is pretty rusty. We'll need to get that fixed fairly quick, just because we don't want that to rupture. The air conditioning does not work, but the compressor's unplugged, so it's anybody's guess as to whether or not it actually works. But I did notice that the airflow, well, Dad said that the airflow through the blower motor was really bad. So even if the AC was working, we need to clean probably the squirrel cage. And my guess is that the reason that fan's not moving a lot of air is because nobody ever cleaned that cab air filter. Most people forget to do that. I know the brakes are a problem, and I'll show you when I get in the cab. They are not in good shape. I don't know if the batteries are going to be an issue or not. I freaking love batteries so much, and I love electrical problems. It's my favorite thing in the whole wide world. I love it so much. I'm always thrilled when I have to do electrical. I can't think of what that other issue was. I swear there was one more. So the cab here is actually in nice shape, really. The cab kit's kind of fallen out of it, but I don't know if the cab kits were all that nice to begin with. This has a much nicer seat than the 800. The hydraulic levers are much better positioned, and they are much more robust. They are an actual steel bar instead of that bent pot metal that's on the 800, and they sit back here, and they're not the worst position-wise to like grab and operate. It's just they're really cheap and poor quality. So this is much improved. As you can see, we don't have anything in the way of breakage. So I don't know if that's like a linkage issue, a master cylinder issue. We'll figure it out. Now here's the hours. You've been watching me go around this tractor and look at stuff and talk about things. Now you tell me if you think that is an accurate engine hour count, because to me, this thing has more hours on it than that. To me, somebody overhauled the engine and painted it and rolled back the hour meter, which is possible. I've heard of that happening before. May not be a common industry practice, but people do it, from time to time. But, honestly, I go back and forth on whether or not this is actually as low hour as it says. There's a lot of indicators that it is. There's a lot of indicators that it's not. So you guys let me know what you think in the comments. And if there's anything you think I should check to kind of help me along and figure out that mystery, then let me know as well. So, there was one other issue. I cannot remember what it was. I'll probably think of it when I'm done with the video. But, so, the control panel there is struggling a little bit for the AC, but it's all original. The vents they're not bad. These tractor vents are always cheap. It's cheap, poor quality 70s plastic. It never did hold together very good. I don't know if the radio works or not. That's like the least of my concerns at this moment. So, I also noticed they left me some freaking goldfish in here, which I appreciate. That's what you want in a tractor, is a bag of little bag of goldfish. Name brand stuff too. It's empty. Somebody got earplugs in there too. I don't know. I have a hard time believing this tractor is louder than that 800, because it's still got all of the acoustics and whatnot still in it. The whatever, you guys know the word. The insulation. There you go. Soundproofing. That's the right word. So, yeah. Okay, we'll let those batteries sit for just another minute. I don't think they're charging. I'm going to be honest with you. There's a pretty good chance I hop up in there to start this and it doesn't. So, anyway. Oh yeah, I don't know if the parking brake works. That was the other thing I was going to mention, I think. That's why the log is here, so that she don't roll backwards. That would be bad. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. So, we'll fire this up here in a minute. I just want to talk to you guys real quick about tractor acquisition. We're not a big operation here, okay? Our goal is to have a fleet of tractors, though. Older tractors, of course, and not John Deere, because just no. I'm okay with another versatile, obviously, and then wouldn't mind a Steiger. We've had our eye on a couple of crab steer cases just for PTO. So the logic behind this purchase was, well, number one, it was fairly affordable. I'm going to get in the shade here so that the camera doesn't get hot. The logic is most of our field work, we need straight pulling power. Versatile and Steiger in particular are extremely good at just offering straight pulling power. And we definitely want four-wheel drive. for a long, long time, my grandpa used two-wheel drive tractors around here. They weren't big enough, but even if they had more horsepower, if you are pulling an implement through a field, especially in, you know, like hills and excuse all the trash, but, you know, hills and canyons and stuff where you've got farm ground, the last thing you want is a two-wheel drive tractor. I mean, at least a front wheel assist. But these four-wheel drives, these articulated ones, are just superb for that type of field work. They are extremely versatile. But all joking aside, originally what we were looking at was a tractor that had PTO and enough horsepower at the drawbar to do heavy tillage work. So we were looking at a like a 2870 case, JI case. They had 300 some horse. I think those are the Traction Kings, but couldn't find one. You know, so we just kind of waited and we were looking around. This came up. We decided, okay, here's what we'll do, because this is going to fit better with what's available, what our budget is, and what we want to do going on. We'll get a second tractor to pull, and then we'll get a PTO tractor, and it can be a little less horsepower because all it has to do is run that grain cart that's behind the Special Sprayer 9000. And so if we can get probably a case is what we're going to end up with, because no John Deere, screw them. We can get one of those. That'll run the grain cart. It'll pull the grain cart, but we don't have to use it for heavy tillage work. We could run a cultivator with it, I suppose, you know, spring tooth, something like that. But for the heavy duty work, which is pretty much everything, we're going to use one of these. So that's the method to the madness here. Like I said, we want a fleet. So if things work out right, we may end up with a Steiger before the end of the year or shortly into the new year. I don't know. It depends on how a lot of things go, including Mr. Power Stroke right there. That's a whole can of worms. So keeping all that in mind, if you see us with another tractor, don't be too surprised. But getting new equipment is kind of a rarity around here. This is big news, okay? First a combine, now this. I mean, that's something fancy. So I'll quit yapping here. I think it's time to fire this up so you can listen to it, because if it'll fire, I'm telling you, it sounds really good. And then I think we'll cut the video. How much you want to bet those batteries are not charged enough to start this? All right. Half throttle. Okay. Key on, clutch in. Yes, we are in neutral. All right, hit the switch there. Yeah, I know that was bad for the turbocharger, but I'm sure it's had worse. Got good oil pressure. Battery's charging. Oh, let's go take a listen. Well, I'll have to fix that. Bit of crankcase pressure, but it ain't awful. smoke that much. Idle's good. I mean, you can't ask for better than that, really. Why is that charging so much? Did I break it? I don't like that. Oh, I remember what the other issue was, and I think this is like a clogged filter or something, but no steering. Pretty sure the fluid is fine. I've looked at both dipsticks and it's got plenty of fluid in it. I think it's a collapsed filter or something, because the steering does work, it takes it a minute. So we'll want to address that. Well, let's go see if the lights work. Oh, got one. Well, hey, that's better than nothing. You're not going to see me complaining. Think the front's working? Okay, well, I guess well, it's not an ammeter, it's a voltmeter. I wish there was an ammeter on here, but I guess the voltmeter is a little bit off. So if you compensate for where the needle's pointing when everything's off compared to when it's on, yeah, see, it's within spec. So it's charging fine. I don't know why it would not start the other day. Because I'm telling you, I tried to do this video yesterday, and I came out, and I was going to start it, and I got a couple cranks out of it, and then it gave up. And it wasn't smoking, and see, usually on the 800, like if it's sat for a little bit, and it takes a while to crank, if it takes as long as this thing did the other day, it usually smokes. And this one wasn't, so I thought, oh, great, it's not getting fuel. But no, as you saw, you give it a little bit of juice, and hell, it fires right up. That's pretty good. So, and yes, I know having it set at half throttle right off the bat's not good for the turbocharger, because it says right there, don't rev it up above 1,000 until the oil pressure, whatever. It's fine. It's not going to hurt anything. You know, it's not like, you know, I'd be more concerned if it was a turbocharger on that white pickup, because that thing's touchy. But this thing, hell, it'll be fine. I'm not going to do it all the time. When we run our tractors, we never run them hard. This thing's rated for 2100, which I guess is about right there where the PTO is at. We run our tractors between here and here. So 17, 1800 at most if we're doing hard work. Otherwise, it's 15 to 1600. I mean, we really don't work our tractors hard. We work them hard enough to keep crap burned off the valve train and all that. but we don't work them so hard we're abusing them. And we keep an eye on stuff. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the walk around. I know I did. I'm excited to have a second tractor here. It's going to be really awesome. Don't know how many videos I'll have out working on this thing, but I'll try and do something. And in the meantime, there's all sorts of other things to do too. So, glad you guys stopped by. If you have any theories about how many hours are actually on this, you post it down in the comments. And if there's anything else, you know, if you're like an expert on these 875s, because I'm not, go ahead and post some advice down below if you got it, because I would appreciate that. And anybody else swinging by wanting to know about these would also appreciate it. Hopefully before the end of the year, we'll get some action in on this thing. And I'll be back then. I hope you will too. We'll catch you guys later. Take care.